like to see I think I would agree with you. I think that we are at an interesting point where that public-private relationship could be established. I really do believe that there is a role for NGOs and people and organizations that can move nimbly. I'd like to have it codified in some way. And a lot of people will hear that and say, well, that means in some way, shape, or form restricted. And that's not necessarily what I'm trying to say, even though there are probably some boundaries that should be put in place to understand where public and private ends. You know, one of the best places that I personally think an NGO organization could step in and actually alleviate a lot of stress from the military is on the exit process.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know about you. I went through a 2-week TAP program, TAPS, Transition Assistance Program. Let me just say this. The course was 2 weeks. At the end of the first day, I had the requisite amount of signatures and then continued on with my fucking life.
Yeah.
So the military spends so much time, you know, switching us from a me-centric to a we-centric approach inside of the branch. Right? And then obviously the pathways that we went down refine that even further and sharpen the blade. The military is not designed to exit people from the military, but an NGO could be fantastic in that world, right? And then the military could focus on other things. My only concern with the public-private when it comes to the response is I don't want to let those fuckers off the hook. I don't want to give the government the ability to say, well, that's their job instead of ours, because there are some things that the government needs to be able to do.
100%. I agree, man. Yeah. And I think, you know, I think of like Team Rubicon, you know, what they did, they do the disaster relief. It's a lot of veterans that go in with chainsaws and axes. And I think that started with either Haiti or Puerto Rico, but it was a couple of veterans and they've now become, you know, a pretty viable component of disaster relief. They're tied in with FEMA. And so, you know, in that sense, but also I think about like what you said about transition, you know, our nonprofit, our small nonprofit that is focused on what we built it on was helping warriors find their voice and tell their story as they transition out. So it's a very niche, you know, focused element on the timeless reality of storytelling as a way to come home. And so I also think that there's just tons of opportunities of smaller systems to just jump in and fill gaps, bottom up in a helpful way that don't even really need, I mean, I do think there should be loose affiliations with the VA and DOD, but you know, those self-organizing systems can do great good. But when you start getting into, as you said, when you start filling the institutional gaps with self-organizing systems, particularly in the realm of national security and NGOs, you are...
Which for the listener is non-combatant evacuation.
Yeah, operation. Sorry, you know, I think you're heading down a slippery slope. And this is from a guy who participated in it, who then had to basically have an intervention done on me that rivaled when I got sober.
And you're committed. I can respect it.
Yeah. But you know, and so now looking back on that and just going, wow, okay, you know, that is a really big deal, and it is, and I don't see it going away unless we take it head on as a society.
Yeah, I don't either. I hope we manage it before it starts managing us, because I do believe, like you said, if it's left unchecked, it will have a negative outcome, and it's not going to be on a small scale. It'll be on a global scale somewhere. And then the finger pointing is going to be at a level that is just galactic.
It's only going to take one you know, mega event. And there's plenty of them that could, you know, Western North Carolina could have been that.
Yeah.
You know, arguably. And again, what those individuals did was Herculean. I mean, I've got family that literally had their lives saved by SEALs and SF guys who got to them when no one else could or would. So, I mean, that's why I'm saying, I think it's kind of both sides need to, you know, the government needs to step up and I think reclaim. And I'll give you one other example, Andy, was again, just recently I was on a Zoom call, you know, with a very senior official from the former Afghan NDS, which you'll remember was their intelligence service. And I'm talking really senior, you know, and I'm talking to this guy about what's going on in the country because no one from the government's talking to him. And I'm in my flip-flops heading over to the VA, and it's like, this is the twilight zone. I didn't even intend for the conversation to go down that road, but the fact that it has, why is someone from a 3-letter agency not talking to him? And I haven't had a clearance in years. He's been abandoned. Like, this needs to be reset here. We need a massive reset. And I think this is happening at scale.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I really do. I don't know what do you think it would take to force that reset?